For example 8, the length of the arc of a sector of a circle is given by the formula L equals 2 pi RA over 360, where L is the length of the arc, capital R is the radius, and little a is the measure of the central angle in degrees. Okay, so first thing I want to bring to your attention here. They've given us a formula that has variables in it. Should I make that smaller? No, let me make it smaller. The R is green, the A is blue. All right, so L is the length of the arc, R is the radius of the circle, and A is the measure of the central angle. And just to give you a picture of what they're talking about here, because I don't know if you guys know the vocabulary well here, so we'll see. We'll that's the center of my circle. So imagine you have a circle, like so, and you have a radius and another radius, let's say it comes like that. And the radius of the circle, the measure of the central angle in degrees, and L will be the length of the arc. Okay, that's what this formula is talking about. Just to give you a visual of it. Okay, notice 2 and pi and 360 are all numbers. Pi is approximately 3.14. You see right there that anytime you do a circle problem, pi is approximately 3.14. Right? It's got an actual more, it goes on forever and ever and ever, but 3.14 is usually a pretty good approximation for pi. So if you look at part A, it says solve for little a. Right now it says L equals, right? So my formula starts off saying L equals 2 pi capital R lowercase a over 360. For part A, I want to get A equals. I want to get A equals, right? So following through our equation solving steps we just momentarily looked at a little bit ago, my first task would be get rid of all parentheses. I look at my problem, I see no parentheses, so that means I skip that step. My second part says to get rid of all fractions or decimals, and I have a fraction here. So I've got to multiply by 360 on both sides, because that's the only fraction happening. Its denominator is the common denominator. Whatever the denominator is, that's what you multiply by to make it go away. So the left becomes 360 times L. The right-hand side, the 360 divided and the 360 multiplied cancel each other out, and then we move 2 pi RA. And then, if I want to get A equals, I want A on one side, everything not A on the other side. Notice, there's A on the right-hand side attached to this entire term, and there's 360L not A on the other side. So that part, the parts 3 and 4 have been done, right? I don't have to rearrange anything. This is the only term having A. This is the only term not having A. That should be the thought process in your brain. Either it has it or it doesn't have it, even though there's other stuff with it. Hey, look, there's an R there also. What are we going to do about that? Worry about that later. All right? Terms either have what you care about or they don't have what you care about. So we separate them in that manner. And then when you get to step 6, because there are no like terms here, we're going to divide by the coefficient of the variable. Well, if the variable, what I'm trying to get is A equals, everything else that's not A represents the coefficient of the variable. So I want to divide by 2 and pi and R to get rid of all the multiplication by A. So I have to multiply the other side by 2 times pi times R. End result, 2 divided by 2 is 1, pi divided by pi is 1, R divided by R is 1. I'm left with 1A, which is also known as A. And on this side, what I could do, not a requirement here, but 360 and 2 are the same kind of thing, right? So it's legal, if I want to, divide those out. I'm going to get 180 on top. 360 divided by 2 is 180. If I didn't notice that, I'd just leave it like that. So 360L over 2 pi R. That's how we solve for A. move on to part B. Part B says solve for R. My equation is still this equation, right, which we took down here before I started messing around with it. I want to get R equals this time. So let's pretend I haven't done this yet. That's no good. Probably quicker just to erase it. All right. So, I want to get R equals. First I get rid of parentheses, which I put those parentheses there for effect, so there's no parentheses. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by 360. And notice I'm going to get to the same place I was. 360 times L equals 2 pi capital R lowercase a. Same place I was here, because again, it's the same equation. It doesn't matter what I'm solving for. I want to get say, everything equals everything with no fractions. I want R equals, so everything with R goes on one side, everything without goes on the other. Well, this is the only thing containing R. That's on one side. That's everything not with R. That's on the other side. So that's already been done for us. There's no like terms, so we don't have to worry about that. So what I have to do is I want to get R equals. So what isn't R is 2 and pi and A. So I divide by 2 pi A. 2 cancels 2, pi cancels pi, A cancels A. So I'm left with capital R equals 360 L over 2 pi A. So they gave me one formula, but I've made 3 formulas out of that one formula. Okay. They gave me the L formula, that was when they supplied me with, but I've created an A and an R formula also. Okay. Now if you look at part C, it says find L. When R equals 10, A equals 30, use pi equals 3.14. So if it says to find L, I go and search for which equation tells me what L is. This one says L equals, right? So that one's ready to go find L. If this said find R, I would have gone to this equation. If it said find A, I would have gone to this equation. We've already solved the equation, we just have to evaluate the expression now. So if I want to find L, and that's what L equals, and they're telling me that the radius equals 10 inches, and A is equal to 30 degrees, and they want us to find L. All right? So, they're telling me what R equals, they're telling me what A equals, they tell me pi is 3.14, so they tell me what pi equals. Notice everything over there is a number, 2 and 360 and pi, except for R and A, so they tell me R and A. So, if I want to be part C here, L is going to equal 2 times 3.14 times 10 times 30, all divided by 360. Simply replace the variables in my equation with the known values. This is applying a formula here. Grab a calculator, because there's no reason I need to calculate this by hand. So, if I type what I see is 2 times 3.14 times 10 times 30, everything on top is being multiplied, then we divide that whole product by 360. And again, you type that entire expression in your calculator all at once. I'd like to see it on your paper that you're typing in, but then type it in correctly. All the top divided by the bottom, and we get 5.23.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of calculators have a pi button. You'll see mine's right above this little caret symbol here. If I'd use the pi button instead of 3.14, notice it's 5.235, so 5.24 to round it. Okay, it's called a rounding error because you're using a different approximation. So anytime you approximate something, pi is about equal to this. And for me, the pi button, that's still about equal to this. It goes like 13 decimal places. It's still leaving off of infinity decimal places, so it's not exactly right. Just know that if you use the pi button and somebody else does it, you might not get the same answer they do. If the back of the book is using 3.14 using the pi button, or use 3.14 the back of the book using the pi button, know the answers might be slightly varying a little bit. They should be close, but not exactly the same.